Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Alexey here, and this is part 2 tutorial on the concepts of beautiful sound on the clarinet. If you haven't watched the first video, go back and watch it, because there I talk about the important concepts of throat mask, intonation, and airstream. They all contribute to developing your great clarinet tone. But today also I am going to cover two important aspects which I forgot to mention in the first video, which are embouchure, your mouth position on the mouthpiece, and also important comparison of reed strengths, so lighter reeds versus heavier reeds, and how they work on different mouthpieces. So without further ado, let's go. Embouchure, or mouth position on your mouthpiece, is concept number one, and basically I just want to mention, out of my own practice, I've seen lots of different embouchures that people play, clarinetists play around, and you know, everybody has a little bit different physique, like everybody's lips and face is different and the feel is different, so eventually it's, you know, it works slightly different for each person, but there's still common traits such as the actual lower lip position. So since 99% of the clarinetists or more play single lip position, you might have not even heard of it, because it's just kind of like normal position these days, but apparently there was also a double lip position where you roll upper lip around your upper teeth and put the lip on the upper part of the mouthpiece. I personally don't recommend it. I don't know personally anyone who plays it these days anymore, or especially if anyone who sounds good on it. So most of us, we put our front teeth on the upper part of the mouthpiece, and that's where we have something called a mouth patch. Mouth patches are also important. Research them a little bit. The different mouth patch does differ your tone quality a little bit and the feel, so look them up. There are different ones out there. Try them if you can. So the front teeth go on the top of the mouthpiece, on the mouth patch, and the bottom teeth, we roll our lip around the bottom teeth and we put it on the reed. I'm going to come closer to show you. So usually it goes like this. We roll it and put it like that. So the two main differences is how much you actually roll your bottom lip, because some clarinetists roll it a lot, some clarinetists kind of like let it out. I just want to show you like quickly the sound difference. So I personally play with like lip really rolled inside. I like it more because it gives kind of like a darker tone quality, and you can like really rest nicely on like you rest the mouthpiece on the lip nicely and just kind of like concentrate on making the sound. So some clarinetists prefer to roll the lip a little bit outward. So again, like I'll show you the difference. Here's the lip rolled out. You can see the red part of the lips. Versus the lip rolled more inside. Yeah, I'll come back so my sound is in front of the microphones. So again, this is the lip rolled inside. Versus the lip rolled outside. As you can notice that the sound quality with the lip rolled outside is a little bit kind of, it's tiny bit brighter, but mainly it kind of has like this bump in the mid frequencies of the clarinet sound, which I personally don't find it to my liking, but you know, if you feel comfortable playing like that, go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter, it's your choice. But one important thing I want to mention is that the bottom lip is very often kind of connected to our throat position and what we feel here. So it's very important not to tense up just because you're rolling more lip inside, like, you know, or like the opposite, kind of like really let your sound go just because you roll the lip outside. So you need to think of your throat mask separately, like what do we do? Even though, for instance, I roll the lip inside, I still lower my throat mask to kind of like counter work. So these are two separate things. This is one muscle, this is completely the other muscle. All right? So that's an important concept. That's why I don't recommend particularly, kind of like tensing your embouchure in some weird way and like really trying to work your muscles on purpose, because that will tense up your throat very often. So think of your throat mask first, get the note, and then the lips, they'll work on their own. When you have to play more and more, like 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, your lips will start to develop to hold. It's mainly the upper lip that like holds the muscles, that holds the whole embouchure together. All right, so that's our concept on the embouchure. And now we hit the fun part where we compare the reed strengths and how they affect the sound quality. So of course, the lighter reeds, a lot of clarinetists who just begin playing the clarinet, they need sort of lighter reeds to be able just to make some sort of sound and get used to the instrument. As you're becoming more professional, you can try to go with heavier reeds to create like more stability in your tone. But still, if you play lighter reeds on and depends also on your mouthpiece a lot, it doesn't mean that your sound is always going to be inferior to those players who play heavier reeds. You can completely make a lighter reeds work to your advantage with airstream, again, very important concept, and the embouchure, like the lower lip position on the reed, not so much position as the how much you're pressing the reed. So again, if we press too much, the sound gets too small. If we like let it go, it goes like completely into the abyss of the sand and no sound. I don't know if that made any sense. But in any case, so I'm going to ditch my German mouthpiece and actually try some of these guys. That's those are the mouthpieces that I was playing before, back when I was in college and high school. I just completely dug them out from the shoebox over there. And we're going to start with a traditional B40. So there's our B40. And we are going to go with a 3.5 Van Doren Blue Box reed. Also a pack of reeds I found in the shoebox, which is really old, really old. Remember those packs? I barely do. We haven't had them in stores like since, I don't know, more than 10 years. So yeah, this 3.5 Van Doren Blue Box, reed strength 3.5. And while it's getting wet, most of the players when they start, like I've seen kids start with like size 2.5, sometimes 3. Again, depends on the mouthpiece, which mouthpiece you play. I would recommend starting at least with number 3. Those are pretty light ones, and then you can work your way to 3.5. And even though there are other brands right now by Van Doren where it's like 3.25, 3.5, then so they go kind of like by quarter steps. Usually it's just like half a step, like 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 10. All right, I think our reed should be ready. No, it's still warped. So B40 13 is a pretty common mouthpiece by Van Doren. A lot of players use it, even in professional field. A lot of students use it, and yeah, even some like professional clarinet players in big orchestras I know use it. So it's kind of like a standard. We're going to try one more standard, which is M15, and actually compare the two mouthpieces. Come on. We'll make it work. Yeah, almost good. So this is 3.5 reed, and first I'm going to try the mouthpiece and see how it sounds. All right, not too bad. So again, first exercise, I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to create my throat mask and get the airstream going to get like the core of the sound and stability. So this reed is slightly on the lighter side, but it's you know, I can play it and make it work, and it's pretty comfortable. But notice that there's a slight difference. It's a little bit lighter reed. There's a slight difference. Like there's like not like really a buzz in the sound, but there's a little bit. With lighter reeds, you get a little bit of that kind of like high frequency content, but also the sound becomes much more kind of prominent. Like it's there. It's kind of like nice live timbre. So what you need to do is to make it very stable, like not wobbly, you know, the opposite of wobbly. And how do we make it stable? We make it stable with airstream, with consistent airstream. It doesn't have to be super strong, like, you know, like you're about to blow the door off. It just needs to be really consistent, which comes from your support and just control of consistency. So when the airstream is really consistent, it kind of almost creates an effect of a heavier reed, because a heavier reed gives a lot of resistance, so we must blow much harder. That's how like the more consistent air is created on heavier reeds. But if you really know how to control the consistency, you can do it on lighter reeds as well. Alright, so this is B40 and 3.5 reed. Let me show you what happens if I select a little bit different mouthpiece. So right now we're going to try an M15 with the same 3.5 reed. Notice how different it's going to sound. Right? Now we have much more buzziness in our sound, and that's sort of the quality of the mouthpiece, even though I'll show you how it's going to change with a little bit heavier reed. So yeah, again, you can make it work. I mean, to me it doesn't sound as pretty as, let's say, B40 or some other mouthpieces, but again, with consistency of the air, we're going to get the core of the note with our throat mask. Also, on that mouthpiece, that's where the pressure on the reed of your bottom lip becomes very important, because you have to regulate it very nicely, because if I press a little bit harder or let it go, notice the difference. So if I press harder, or I can let it go much more. Right, that's a lot of difference versus a little bit heavier reed. But before we get to a heavier reed, let me show you also that you know, just one brand of a mouthpiece, like one company and same brand, M15 M15, doesn't mean they're all the same. So for instance, if I change to like a little bit older M15 that I have, with even much more disgusting looking mouth patch, notice the difference. It's still slightly on the buzzier side, but it already has much more nicer refined tone quality. So you know, you have to always choose from several mouthpieces of the same brand just to see which one works better. Now, time to try a little bit heavier reed and notice the difference. So again, this reed, it's pretty light on M15, 3.5 Van reed. So this is like like very easy to do. I have to really concentrate, so get the right pressure on the reed and then fill it with the airstream, not to have either really pressed or really open and kind of like nasty sound. So now we're going to try a little bit heavier reed on the same mouthpiece, M15, and see how different it sounds as comparison to the previous reed. Our previous reed was size 3.5 Blue Box Van Doren. This is Van Doren V12, but 4.5, strength 4.5. So here we go. Right, very different, much more kind of darker tone, more filled. At first, it does require not just consistent airstream, but more of the air, because if I send sort of like same amount of air as the previous reed, so yeah, I'm getting like a little bit too much just air noise and not enough core of the sound. So I do have to send more stream of air. Very different sound, right? And with the heavier reed, it gives you like less flexibility to bend it sort of like close to the mouthpiece and more away. So remember how much difference I could make in sound with like squeezing it or like letting the reed go. With this reed, I can't do that much difference. It's not as drastic, so it's a little bit easier to get that good pressure on the reed point with your bottom lip, and there's a little bit more stability with it, but it does require much more air. So for instance, if I were to play a little bit more like an opening of Rigoletto Fantasy with this setup, let's see how it sounds. Yeah, it's nicer tone quality, but let's say with this mouthpiece and this combination, the attack speed of the notes is a little bit not too comfortable. Like once the faster part started, dun, da, dun, da, da, I had a little bit of difficulty to start the notes exactly on time. So of course it's doable. If I just like practice a little bit, I can do it just by preparing it. But you know, it's always nicer maybe to have a little bit different mouthpiece option where again it's a little bit more comfortable. So let's compare M15 right now to a Pine mouthpiece that I have and that I introduced in my first tutorial video, and see how different it's going to sound. Now, Pine, in my opinion, particularly that model that I have, which is E. Yeah, it just says E. It's also it's kind of like it's got a closer opening, so the reed is kind of like pretty close to it, but notice how different it's going to sound with the same reed. So I'm going to try the same opening on this mouthpiece as well. not only that the tone quality is a little bit kind of like nicer and bigger in the inside, it's also much easier for me to start the attack of the notes on this particular model. Even though kind of like the resistance wise, this reed on Pine and on M15 sort of feel pretty much the same, the strength of it. Let's compare and go back to 3.5 reed and just see how that works on this particular Pine model. See, again, I have like more space to kind of like bend the sound to make it more tense and more loose. So I'm going to, again, to focus on how much pressure I apply to the reed with the bottom lip and hit the airstream inside. Yeah, so again, in this example, we also have a little bit more buzziness in the upper register, but we also kind of have a little bit more nicer, like kind of like clarinet character, you know, with a lighter reed. But then again, we jumped like a whole number from 4.5 to 3.5, and also the blue box and the V12s, there is slightly different quality. So, you know, if for instance you also try to get like a number 4 reeds, which sort of like a standard strength for a lot of mouthpieces here and there. I see a lot of people just play number 4, depending on which kind of mouthpiece they play. You know, that you might find like that golden middle where it's nice, it's a little bit heavy reed, but it's not like too heavy where it's just like kind of a very stuffy sound, and you have to really work hard for the beginning of each note. I'll see you soon again in the next tutorial video, and meanwhile let me know how this works out for you or doesn't work out for you, which observations you have, and if you feel like these tutorials are not enough and you need like some private help, I do teach privately through Skype or Google Hangout sessions, so do hit me up through my website contact form, which is, I have the link below this video of my website and the contact form, and it goes straight to my email, and I check email every half a minute of the day. So I'll see you soon.